Welcome Internet to Inside the Tank. This is episode 8, JIS or not.
Right then, let's get this puppy put together. Right, we just try to always pop a little bit of rubber grease on these things when we put them together. Purely and simply because we need to, well, lubrication's a big problem, isn't it? Especially when you get aluminium. Lubrication is a massive problem. Right, this diaphragm is in two pieces. I don't know if you can see that there. Okay, it's got two like sides to it. Okay, and it has to go on the diaphragm plate. But that, you'll notice there, has a recess. Okay, well that goes in between those two. That goes between those two there. So what you have to do is, you have to make sure when you get you separate your diaphragms like so. And you pop that between them. Very carefully, of course, without doing any damage, as much as you possibly can. Nice and gentle, there we go. Right, so that is now between the two diaphragms, and you'll see that the recess side is on the same side as this silver disc here. If you put it the other way around, the valve won't close properly. So that's how that goes. Okay. Next task is to fit that onto here. So we'll just blow that off. Make sure there's no crap in it. There we go. Right, our rubber O-ring there sits in that seat like that. Making sure that that's all located like that. Then we have the cover with the spring. Without that spring, that rubber won't work. Making sure that that's seated properly. There we go. And then our cover goes on there. Like so. I'm not happy with that. So let's just have another look. I'm not happy with that. What's the matter with that diaphragm? Looks like it's been folded at some point. You've got to make sure that that's it. There you go. You can see that's got a tiny little peg on it there. Well, that peg that little rubber diaphragm has to go over that peg. Can you see it? Can you get that? I'm trying to get this on film so you can see it. Do you see that? Okay, now it'll go. Right. Again, let's have another go. Making sure that our pegs go in the recesses. That's it. Now then. Now that's all located, you can feel it. It's sat solid now. So we get that on there. We get that spring. Try and get this on camera for you. And then the top goes on there and it locates in with the pegs. Nope, that's not locating for some reason. Okay, let's have another go. There we are, it went together. So that is now nice and solid before you even put any screws in. So your next task. Now don't forget, whenever you're doing out on a bike, no matter what it is, it's a Japanese bike, your crosshead screws aren't crosshead screws, they're J.I.S. screws, Japanese industry standard. So you need to make sure that you've got the correct screwdriver. An ordinary Phillips or an ordinary Posi won't do the job. Now you can tell J.I.S. screws because they have a dot on them. Now this sounds crazy, I know, but I don't know if you can see. It's very, 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 very difficult to see. If you look at the head of that screw, it's got a punch mark on it. Can you see the head of that screw there? That one. Or is it that one? I'm trying to look at bloody camera. There, it's got a tiny punch mark on it. That indicates that it's a J.I.S. screw, Japanese industry standard. Well, a Phillips screwdriver might do the trick, but what you may find is using a Phillips screwdriver is if the screw is exceptionally tight, you may find that using a Phillips screwdriver you'll round it off. Whereas if you use a J.I.S. screwdriver, you'll find it has more purchase on the head of the screw. Right, so that's done, that's in together. You look down the middle, I don't know if you can see, you look down the middle of that, you can see the centre of that valve, that's your vacuum valve at the back of the fuel tap there. Okay, so next task, we need our rubber. Universal goes either way, that sits in the bottom over the holes. See that? Yeah, we got that. Cracking job, there you go. Right, I'll just pop that down there for a second. Now we deal with this, the tap. Well, there's a rubber seal there that goes in the groove around it. What I like to do, and I know this isn't everybody's cup of tea, but like I say, this isn't the way, it's just my way, is put a little tiny smearing of rubber grease on that. And the reason for that is aluminium has a tendency to oxidise like crazy. If you put a smearing of rubber grease on, it prevents that oxidisation, or well, it doesn't prevent it, I suppose it helps to slow it down. Get the bloody grease off my hands, there we go. Right, okay, so when that goes in there, it will help slow down the oxidisation. There you go, and your fuel tap is together, and that is lovely and stiff, that's great. Next goes a wave washer. See that wave washer there? Look at it sideways, it's not flat. That acts as a little spring. And then the next thing we do is we have our front to go on there. Make sure that tap's turned the right way around. So that will go on there. And you can see that's upside down, you muppet. Come on, get with it. Get with it, muppet. There we go. And then you pop your two screws, one on each side. And that wave washer acts as a kind of puts pressure on that rubber seal, so that when you're turning the tap from on to reserve or off or whatever, it holds the seal of the tap against the back of the tap. So the front holds the front and back together. So that's that put together. The final seal is the one that goes over the top, which goes in that groove there. I'll deal with that in a minute. Right, your next thing is this. That's nice and clean. Pop that on there and push it into place. That's your filter. And then I'll put a bit of rubber grease on that, and I'll tell you why I'm going to put rubber grease on that, because it'll just help to hold it in that groove while I get it on the tank. There we go, it'll hold it in that groove like that till I get to the tank. So that's the fuel tap put together, that is it. In true style, we've got a few bits left over, but luckily they're old bits. Right, let's put this on the tank and see how we go. See you in a bit. Right, I have a drip, but that drip is coming from the piece of pipe I've connected to the fuel tap.